Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Ted, and today I'm joined by...
Nerdarchy's Dave.
Today we have a D&D discussion. What's the best way to award XP? Jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
So we had an @tweet over on Twitter, which you can always @tweet at Nerdarchy anytime you like, from the Uncommons.
All right, so this one boils down to... Would love to hear you guys wax philosophical in a video on different strategies for how DMs might best award XP at low, medium, and high levels to individual PCs and the party.
Okay, so this is something, this kind of runs in conjunction with some videos we've done recently. We did one on the tiers of play and how that could work, but this is more specific. We're going to talk about XP, how you can do it, how we do it, and how we've done it in the past.
Now, right now, we do... It's called milestone leveling, but
I don't even think we really do milestone.
We do XP where we throw all the numbers to the side. We're going to give you a level when we as the GM feel it's time to level. Right now, we're doing, 2 sessions. That gets you a level. And the plan is to take both of these campaigns up to 20th level and finish it off with the final session being at 20th so that you get all your powers together.
And yeah, you get to play. Now, I believe like 1 through 3, I think we were probably leveling every session until they got up to like 4th level, 3rd level. And then that's when we kind of like slowed the progression down. We're like, all right, these characters can actually survive. They can take a hit. We can kind of like cruise now.
Yeah, so that is one way of doing it. Technically milestone leveling is, at a certain arc, point in the story, like you completed something big. All right, now we'll do it.
Ooh, I got this one. If you watch Critical Role, Matt Mercer, you can see him doing milestone, and he's so far, I mean, we've only seen one level up. The way he's doing it is essentially how milestone would work, so that's a pretty good example.
Absolutely, and that's the direction I was going to go in. They completed the first piece of story, and they got to go from level 2 to level 3. Big change for them.
Yeah, even when he's like, you guys have defeated your first boss quote monster, Devil Toad. Spoilers for you guys haven't seen, but it's been out for a long time now. But anyway, when he's like, you defeat this first boss, and for that, you guys, don't get the level up yet because the arc isn't quite finished.
Right. They had to do some role playing and tie up the loose ends, which I think is kind of cool. But that's one way of doing it. So technically, there's our way, there's Matt Mercer's way. You have the ability to tally every little XP point from monsters, from role playing, and there's no role playing XP award that's out there, but you could make this king is a level 7 something or other, so that's challenge, whatever. So when you've role played with him, okay, well, I'm going to assign appropriate amount of XP for that encounter, just like you would with a combat encounter. And this way you are giving XP for proper role playing. If you feel that they relied on the dice, didn't do a lot of role playing, well, then they didn't earn any role playing XP for that combat, so you just shove that aside.
Now, that being said, too, in previous editions, you would also get the XP for the traps as well. In 3rd edition, that was something kind of new they kind of introduced. If you go back even further, you used to get XP for getting gold. Like just having, it's not like you went to the store and put it in a slot machine and XP came out. Yes, I totally ripped that off from Matt Colville and the GM Roundtable, but it was good, that's why. No, you just had it, you got to keep it, you got XP. The same thing with magic items as well. Mm-hmm. You would actually get either the XP for the gold you got for the magic items, or you would get the XP because each magic item had an XP number that went with it. You would get the XP for keeping the magic item. So like things worked really different in the previous editions. Now I had my own system, and you might have had yours, and I've even heard Matt Mercer talk about doing something where I would give out I would make hash marks per character when they would do something in game that was interesting, funny, and, but it was in game. And at the end, I would tally up those hash marks, and I'd award XP according to them. Now, people that weren't really good role players, I would generally give them more hash marks per instance than I would people that were good role players. Like the people that are already doing the thing really well, it's not so much that I would penalize them, but I would reward the people who needed the encouragement more. So it
Right.
kind of like graded on a curve.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense because it's going to incentivize the people to become, better role players or role play more. And as that person gets better, you then have the ability to say, okay, well, I'm going to start, giving less hash marks because you've upped your game. You've done what you're supposed to be doing, so now there's less of a curve on you.
And of course, like I would never tell the players this. I would just kind of award it for what they were doing. And people like to be encouraged and feel like they're being rewarded for what they do. So that kind of worked out really well. Now, different ways to actually award XP during the game depends on what kind of game you want to play. And in all fairness, you should probably mention it to your players and just let them know. Like if you want to run a game that moves slower, one, you can use some version of milestones or just awarding levels like we do and just kind of pick. Or if you really want to do the numbers, because some people really like getting XP, you could do that, and you could just do it you could use fractions of what they're really supposed to get if you're going lower or slower. Or if you want to go faster, you can actually go the other way and give them an additional XP beyond what they would normally get, just depending on the pace of the game that you want.
Now, so looking at these things, tallying numbers, as you said, some people really like doing it. You can award the XP as it's earned, as opposed to saving up for the end of the night. You can be like, all right, you defeated this monster. It works out to be 117 XP each person. You give it out. They do as they do as they will with it. It's not like earlier editions. You could trade it in for stuff. No, you're just tallying to get to the next number. When you do role playing or things that somebody earns more, okay, well, they're going to get the more, and you're going to have the possibility of unbalanced levels in your party. And if that's how you're awarding XP, you just have to deal with that as a circumstance for that.
Well, the other part of that too is like if people don't show up for the session, they're not getting XP because you're awarding XP. So that's going to make differences as well.
And that's going to further the level differences in the party. And that's one of the reasons why we do the leveling that we do. Everybody's the same level. Oh, you're a brand new player coming into this game. You're the same level as everybody else. If you missed last session, doesn't matter. Everybody leveled last session. So did you. I don't care what you said you did. You leveled so that everybody's at the same level. Therefore, you can all handle the same amount of threats.
Yeah, and that's just the way we do it this one way, and you can do it either way. That's fine. Like I was watching the GM's roundtable, and they actually talked about this quite a bit and how it was before. And Matt Mercer even talked about he's got all the Excel spreadsheets of XP from the first campaign of Critical Role, and he talked about having a discussion with his players about going forward and not wanting to do that anymore. And he kind of broached the subject with them and said, "Hey, this is what I want to do. Are you guys on board?" And they're like, "You can do that?" And he's like, "Yeah, we can do that." And so they went to the milestone.
Now, the uncommons asks about doing it at low, medium, and high. You look at how much XP. If you want to play a game where you're awarding XP for doing whatever, combat, role playing, exploration, what have you. You decide, all right, at first level, that's where we're starting. You only need so much XP to level up. You figure out what portion of that you're willing to give for a role playing thing that's not just, oh, you defeated a role playing encounter, and you make those things like you made the hash marks. How much does that work, or how much is that worth? Now, as you level up, that amount should level up proportionate to what it takes to go from level 2 to level 3, and so on and so forth, up the chain. They do it with all the monsters, so you should do it with the role-playing, so that the same amount of effort that you would apply to get from one level to the next should be the same amount of effort to go, further up.
Yeah, the numbers stay consistent. Now, as far as tiers of play, I think that's far less important than style of play. Like your XP and how you award it and how you give it out, that's what you should be thinking about is the style of play in your game and the pacing that you want for your campaign. If you want to play a really super a super fast game where it's possible maybe you can level more than one level at a time. That's the style you're playing. That's fine. You just the XP accordingly. Or if you're like, you know what, we're gonna play like 5 to 10 sessions per level. That's another style. And you can do that if you want. Like,
I've played in games where we've done exactly that. You used to be very stringy. You used to be really stingy with giving out XP, and like there were some nights where we didn't fight anything, and it's like, oh well, you did some role playing, so you get 15 XP for the night. And it's like, what? I have 2 classes here. What am I gonna do with 15 XP?
Yeah, not only that too. Like, I would actually do fractions on the XP as well, because like when I started that game, I had just decided that it was going to be a slow burn, and I wanted to kind of like pace going through the levels.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to do that, I just scaled back the amount of XP I was giving out. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing it the way I did it, not in the sense that the way I was awarding XP, but there was never a conversation at the table. It was just, I'm running the game, this is how I'm running it, and like it or leave it kind of
Right.
deal. Like, we didn't really have these discussions at our table 15, 20 years ago. The DM showed up, he ran the game he was going to run, and the players played that game.
Right.
That was your option.
There was no session 0. There was no, let's sit down and write this story together. It was all right, you start in a tavern, you do what the DM says. Now, and I've also run in games where crazy stuff could happen and you could gain levels just by touching something or doing something.
You licked that doorknob, you just gained the level of barbarian.
Well, I mean, I got a soul gem in one of the games that I played, and I went up touching it. I now share a body with a half-orc fighter barbarian. I have all those levels. They don't help me in any way, shape, or form. I'm a spellcaster, but I've gained all of those abilities, and I've got another personality sharing my body. Yay, great.
I don't think that personality addition was consensual.
And some of those games, like, it was typically it was common to gain 2 to 3 levels a session because you start midpoint, 8th, 10th level, and we're bum rushing 20th for the final encounter.
It wasn't uncommon to be awarded things like stat adjustments, special abilities. It was just a different time, a different era. The gods were fickle.
So, like, you can go in any which way you want. What works for your game? What works for your group? As a GM, what works for your play style? To me, as a GM, I think it is so much easier not to have to worry about tabulating monster XP values, role-playing XP values, worrying about, this guy's been a stellar role player, has made it to every single session, whereas that guy kind of sits and just quietly pays attention when people are talking and misses every 3rd session. Well, now there's like a 3-level difference. Now what do I do? So what do you guys think? How are you handling this in your game? You can continue the conversation down below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on Facebook.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.